All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about a piece of software that's often overlooked but is pretty much the secret ingredient for getting a virtual machine to work properly: VMware Tools. We're going to break down what it is, why it's so darn important, and how it can take your VM experience from frustrating to fantastic.
Okay, so you've been there, right? You spin up a brand new virtual machine, you're all ready to get to work, and something's just off. The mouse feels weird, the screen is tiny, and doing anything feels like a chore. Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you've met a VM in its sad default state.
So let's really dig into that feeling. Why does a freshly installed virtual machine feel so disconnected and, well, kind of broken? The thing is, the problem isn't the VM itself. It all comes down to a major communication breakdown between that virtual world and the real computer it's running on.
And that communication gap is where all those classic headaches come from. Your mouse cursor gets completely trapped inside the VM window, and you have to hit that weird key combo just to get it back. The screen resolution is stuck in a tiny little box. And forget about the simple stuff we do all day, like copying some text from a web page and pasting it into the VM. Nope, can't do it. Dragging a file over? Impossible.
You know, the source material we're looking at just nails it. Without this key piece, your shiny, powerful virtual machine acts less like a modern computer and more like, quote, a rudimentary PC rather than a fully integrated virtual environment. It's like it's on its own deserted island, totally cut off from everything else on your computer.
And this slide just lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have the before picture. The trapped mouse, the terrible resolution, the isolated system. It's a real pain. And on the other side, the after. Everything is seamless, integrated, and just works. So what's the bridge that gets us from one side to the other?
Well, that brings us to the essential upgrade. You can think of it as the magic key that finally unlocks what your virtual machine was always supposed to be able to do. And that key, of course, is VMware Tools.
So what is this stuff, really? Put simply, VMware Tools is a whole package of special drivers and little helper programs that you install inside the virtual machine's own operating system. Its whole job is to build a high-speed communication channel between the VM and the host, the physical machine it's running on. Here's probably the easiest way to think about it. When you get a new graphics card for your computer, what's the first thing you do? You install the official drivers to unlock its real power, right? Well, VMware Tools is that exact same idea, but it's for all your virtual hardware. It's the official driver package that lets your VM actually perform the way it's meant to.
Okay, so we know what it is. Now for the good part. What does it actually do? Because installing this isn't just some small tweak. It unlocks a ton of powerful features that completely change the game. And we can basically break down all these benefits into three main groups.
First up is just raw performance. VMware Tools installs special network drivers, so your internet is way faster inside the VM. It gives you advanced graphics drivers, which is how you can finally crank up the resolution and get smooth video. And it even upgrades the storage drivers, so your virtual hard drive feels a whole lot snappier.
Second, and this is the stuff you'll feel immediately, is the user experience. This is where all those daily frustrations just disappear. Your mouse can now just glide smoothly in and out of the VM window like it's any other app on your desktop. The shared clipboard comes to life, so copy and paste works perfectly. And yes, you can finally just drag a file from your desktop and drop it right into the VM.
And third, and this is a huge one, especially for you sysadmins and power users out there, are the management benefits. VMware Tools keeps the VM's clock perfectly in sync with the host computer, which is super important for a lot of software. It lets the host run scripts and commands inside the guest automatically. And it provides a constant heartbeat, which is just a little signal that tells the MAME system, hey, I'm still running and everything's okay over here. And here's where you see just how deep that integration goes. It allows for some really advanced stuff, like quiescing. All that means is that when you take a snapshot or a backup, it can tell an application like a database to just pause for a split second. That way, you get a perfect, clean copy of your data, not a corrupted mess. It's pretty brilliant. So let's tie all this together. Why does this really matter? Well, installing this one set of tools is what takes your VM from being this clunky, isolated box and turns it into a professional, fully integrated part of your workflow. It's a fundamental shift. If you remember one thing, let it be this. VMware Tools is the bridge. It's what closes that massive gap between the virtual machine and the host computer, letting them talk to each other and work together just like they were always supposed to. The whole journey really just boils down to three simple steps. 1, you start with that slow, clunky, frustrating VM. We've all been there. 2, you install VMware Tools. That's the magic moment. And 3, you end up with a fast, seamless, and totally integrated workspace that actually feels good to use. So, in the end, you have to see that VMware Tools isn't just some optional extra. It's not a nice to have. It is the key. It's what unlocks the performance, the features, and the true potential of your virtual machine.
You know, it really makes you think, doesn't it, about all the other invisible technology that just works in the background, making our digital lives possible. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. What other essential software, the drivers, the little background utilities, do we totally take for granted every single day?